I came across a video which frankly is ironic of Tartarsky looking at an advert for the Wagner group and pointing out that he'd seen one of these adverts displayed in Rostov. Indeed he had, and he wants to see more. And he thinks that they haven't, that the Russian government hasn't yet paid Wagner for these adverts, and the various civic organizations haven't yet paid for the adverts to be screened. But he's hoping to see more soon. I suppose that's unlikely now. The adverts for Wagner are all over the place. And I think what the Wagner recruiting scheme has now done is decided, well, it's not going to recruit any longer from prisons. Instead, it's recruiting via porn sites. And it talks about the Sofa military companies. The Sofa military companies for Wagner are those companies who are parasiting, I think is the best translation, on the reputation, who are parasites on the reputation of the Wagner group, the Wagner glory. Companies not participating effectively. So the Wagner campaign is now saying, don't enlist with these other companies. The only company that you should pay attention to is Wagner. So it's quite clear that Wagner is aware of rival mercenary groups in Russia, and it's trying to sort of clamber over the bodies and say that they are the only ones worth enlisting with. Of course, the life expectancy in the trenches in the Wagner brigade in one of the centres of combat is very low. At the same time, if you were to look up on the internet, try it, if you were to put in Wagner music and write it in Cyrillic, then what you get is music that has been composed and promoted for the Wagner group. You may also find references to Richard Wagner, but I'm astonished to find sort of rather strange rap and this sort of street gang style dancing, shoot everyone down. It's disturbing. But this is all part of that recruiting campaign. So the Wagner group particularly is recruiting the rap listening younger Russian students, I suppose, to fight for them and to be cannon fodder. And there is an argument that the Bakhmut campaign has been a distraction by the Russian military. Let them get on with it. Let them kill themselves and at the same time kill as many Ukrainians as they can engage, that this is all about cannon fodder. It's not all actually about winning. It's about distracting and engaging and wasting time. And I think the war is taking a very nasty turn. And not only is Wagner using sort of rap music as a recruiting drive, and heavily influenced by the Telegram program, but it's also part of a widening campaign that is drawing on the tradition of computer games, and I think I want to speak about that in much greater detail. So I put something up about that a little later. But for the moment, this idea that the Wagner group, not only is it under pressure, to the extent that Prigozhin himself has been in Bakhmut and was planting a flag which had got Tartarsky's name all over it. So Has the Wagner Group finally taken Bakhmut? No. It's taken a part of Bakhmut, yes, and it's making the most of that. And Prigozhin himself is there, I would say, demonstrating the desperation of this group to maintain its importance in the Russian war machine. So not only have you got to fight against Ukraine, you've also got to fight within the Russian military establishment, a fight between the real soldiers and the Wagner mercenaries and other mercenary groups. So what we are seeing in the West is a snapshot of a lot of crisis, and at the same time, if you check out the alarming videos which are posted on Russian sites, and it's so distressing. What you see is a vision of a country that is completely obliterated, villages wiped from the map, blocks of flats which simply don't exist, and what is left is perhaps a bit of a facade which can never be rebuilt. It will have to be torn down and started again. This is total annihilation. And there is a point where you've got to say, why would Putin want to do this? Surely he's got villages like this in Russia. Does he want more? He's slaughtering poor areas. For what? And this isn't to protect the Donetsk region, the Donbass. It's not to protect the Donbass. It's not to protect the Russian-speaking peoples there. Everybody speaks Russian. This is the other irony about the videos which are posted on Telegram particularly. Even the Ukrainian soldiers are speaking Russian. Nobody is speaking Ukrainian. Only the politicians speak Ukrainian. The ordinary Ukrainian soldiers are speaking Russian. And they go from site to site pointing out, oh, there's a skull, there's an Ivan, there's a musician. When they come across dead bodies, it's heartrending. It's like, well, it is a civil war from that point of view. But you come back to the same observation that this is a war that has been imposed on Ukraine, a war of aggression that the Ukrainians are resisting by a crazy dictator with no purpose. There is no purpose to this at all. And the recruitment, there is no purpose to that either. I find it really difficult working out which soldier belongs to which side. In the end, you have to go by the armbands, white, green, whatever. And it's not something you immediately recognize. So do these people in combat, when they come across each other on the edge of a trench, do they recognize this person is the enemy? How do they know? This is soul-destroying, and a peace needs to be established as fast as possible, and this evil needs to stop.